hot, and I'm like, I'm gonna go outside.
Is that one on too? Yeah. Ready? What? Monitors on. I just turned those on. Sorry.
There they are.
Hey.
Okay. I'd like to welcome everyone to the May 16th City Council meeting. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
God bless you.
Councilmember Hagan?
Here.
Councilmember Bellinger?
Here.
Councilmember Cumming?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Swift?
Here?
And Mayor Alves?
Here. All right, our first item this evening is a consent calendar. I'll accept the motion.
I'd like to pull item 2 for a couple of questions.
Very good. Item 2 is now pulled. I'll take a,
Yeah, I'll proceed to move that we approve item number 1 on the consent calendar.
very good. Do we have a motion?
That was a motion.
That was a motion.
Sorry.
I'll take a second. Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, Councilman Bellinger.
Yeah, on the registered demands, I looked at a couple of things, just a couple of questions. We wrote a check to Escalon Unified School District for pool maintenance for the 21-22 school year. Is the pool technically functioning? We're paying for maintenance. Is it going to be working?
Yeah, we're getting.
Do we know? We're paying-
The equipment's running, but to say that the pool is, it's debatable. There's water there and it's running right now, but there's still chemical things to go through. Is it going to be safe to open? I can't give you that answer.
I'm just curious why we're spending money if, we're talking that's not going to be used or we're not allowed. Are we truly allowed to use the pool or not? If we're not, empty it. We're spending money.
And as soon as, and
So
that's
I'm
kind
just trying
of,
to
that's
figure
hard
out-
because without us having a definitive answer, is the pool closed or not? We've got to keep the equipment running because if we stop the equipment
Yes.
and then they say the pool, it's going to be that much harder to get it back.
That I
and more
understand.
expensive.
We need to
So
get to
that's-
an answer of
Exactly.
whether or
We just
not
need to get an
we're going to be
answer.
allowed to use it if it's within range on the chemicals and all that stuff we need to do, and we can use it, fine. But if we can't, then we need to cut bait and quit spending money, in my opinion, for the city,
Who determines the, whether we use it or not?
or whether we're allowed to use it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, really, at this point, we've gotten all the information back that we've needed from everybody, and we know what's wrong with it and what's needed, so it comes to the decision of the board and the council, the school board and the council to say if they want to proceed with running the pool.
Do we have a cease and desist if we don't fix those things?
We do not.
Yeah.
So if the water's within range, we can use it? Is the way I
Technically, we can use it.
Oh,
get it up to speed and use it?
okay.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so, okay,
But
so,
with, it says technically meaning when use it, meaning technically somebody could go in there, but that doesn't mean if something happens that we won't face fines, that we won't face liability issues and things like that. That's why it's hard to answer, because we're keeping the pool running. Can you go in there and swim? Yes. But is it legal to? If something happens, no.
Can we ask that, Dominique, at the next meeting between the school district and the other meetings and we're there? Can we ask them to get more definitive answers on that?
Yes.
So in our meetings, it's our understanding that they don't have any of the monies that we talked about, like we brought back estimates and proposals for what their
Right.
share would be. But yeah, I could definitely reach out to them and see how they would feel about us utilizing it.
Because
It's correct.
no one's actually red tagged the pool, to
No,
my
not
understanding.
red tagged.
So what is our extended liability? Because we haven't quote unquote brought it up to code. Is it the horrible word of grandfathering, but it's grandfathered in because it was built 20 years ago. So technically, are we still okay to use it based on the original design at the time it was permitted and built? Those are the kind of questions we need to get to, just find out if we can truly use it or not without any extra liability for the city or the school.
Yeah, this had been addressed before in that last,
Assessment.
what's that?
In the last assessment that it did.
In the last assessment, because we did ask the pool company to come back and say, give us the minimum amount we need to do to get us safe and up to speed. That was
Different than
presented.
compliant.
True. Well, compliance in terms of the county health, they're going to kind of leave us alone. I mean, they always have. They've never taken an active approach on the pool.
Okay.
It's more about other liability issues, somebody hurting themselves. We know there's no
Right.
ADA, problems with ADA access. If something happened, would the fact that we had improper signage or markings and that kind of stuff, that's the other liability we're concerned about, which was brought up at the last one. We probably need to revisit it. But the main thing that I see here is the school board doesn't want to, bite the bullet and be the ones to say, I want to shut it down. And I think there's just, it appears everyone's just playing, let's wait and see. But we can bring back the liability, and we could bring back the contract too that we have with them to answer your questions.
Yeah.
And I'm not, if I can interrupt, I'm not so sure we can wait till the next school board meeting for the simple fact, if everybody does give their blessing, then we've got to get the whole lifeguard thing going and everything else, which is going to be another major issue if everything is going to be okay for us to run.
For swim lessons coming up.
Correct.
So
School's out.
would it be possible to offer an impromptu, like, and you tell me at what point in this meeting we should be doing this, an impromptu consensus if we were to want to proceed with going and letting the pool run, that in terms of the council, our statement, if we can get a consensus on it, would be, let's let it go ahead and run, as far as that the city is concerned, and therefore we can initiate the process to start looking into lifeguards. 'Cause I know it's gonna be like pulling teeth, but if we're gonna start, we gotta start that now. Is that possible to do that at this meeting, to give a consensus that at least from the council, as far as the council is concerned, we would just like to go ahead and go for the summer season and do it?
Quick
And then we
question.
throw the whole thing back on the school board.
Okay, we recognize Councilman Hagan.
Quick question, so is the safety issue the water toxicity with the water, or are we talking like,
No, that's just very
Red
minimal.
tape
It's,
stuff.
it's decking, it's inlets that are inside the pool itself. It's the equipment, the chemicals, or the tank inside, the equipment room is going out. The changing the filters are going out. It's just, it's gonna take a lot of money to get it back up to running well if we want it to.
so the current concerns, are they, like, obviously there's valid concerns for longevity and stuff, but are the current concerns for safety real? Like, in other words, is there like rebar sticking out, stuff like that, or are we
There's
talking,
rebar exposed, not sticking out.
okay, within the swimming pool or on the decking? Because when I walk by there, I'm not quite seeing anything that, to me, is just sticking out like a sore thumb that's alarming. So I'm just curious from your standpoint, what you think? Like, would you let your son or your child swim in that swimming pool?
Yeah. But I wouldn't pay for my kid to swim in that swimming pool.
Okay,
Fair enough.
I appreciate the
If I may
truth statement.
suggest we put it on if you want to, we could bring this information back on at the next meeting, so we have the agreement in front of us and the previous reports identifying the hazards.
What I'm curious about is why has it not been dealt with before now? Why are we now getting on top of this when we knew the summer's coming, we knew the pool was an issue? Why-
Everything that is, I mean, it's not gonna take much to get it going now if we don't do anything that's recommended. It's not that that's why he's seeing expenses, because we're keeping the pool alive. In case you guys do pull the trigger, then it's gonna be more minimal than what we did last year.
But we have to get lifeguards online and everything else.
100%.
There's a lot of work here to do.
100%.
Can you have people sign a waiver, like aware of these things?
No.
That's not an option?
The short answer is that's not going to save us from liability if somebody gets hurt.
Nothing will.
Even if they're fully aware of
You
their
get sued no matter
the
what.
risk?
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. So we've talked about this pool at length. This is not a new item. My stance on it is the pool currently, even if it was running fully up to speed, is used 6 weeks out of a 52-week year. It takes a huge amount of effort on the part of the city, Public Works, working with the school district, which, in itself is a tricky relationship in regards to the pool. We haven't, the issues in the past have been hiring lifeguards to staff it. It loses a lot of money every year. It's not utilized throughout the year. It's not utilized. It was designed to be utilized for, swim meets, water polo, these things, but it wasn't built that way. And so for the last 20 years, it's been used 6 weeks, 2 months out of the summer. So I don't think we need to kick the can down the road anymore. We know it's in front of us. It's not up to spec. It's underutilized. It costs the city a lot of money. So my opinion in the past, my opinion tonight is the same, as much as some people disagree with it or don't understand it, but it's not a good thing for the city to be involved in anymore. And I would, make a recommendation tonight that We no longer fund the high school pool. It's not doing what it was supposed to do. Cost us too much money, and we can't find lifeguards. And so I'm not in favor of having the pool be open this year. I'm not in favor of paying for it anymore, or asking the citizens of Escalon to pay for it.
Okay, where does that take us here? Now, we've had this discussion.
I just had the questions that I needed answered, so that's what I wanted out of what I was
Let's go back
asking.
and finish
So
this item up. Do you want to vote on this thing and get it through?
I move to make a motion to accept item 2 on the consent
All
calendar.
right, do we have a motion? We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, there it is. Let's move on down to staff communication. Before we go further though, we're going to request this to comes back next time in the next meeting. Is that the idea?
If council wants
Do you
to.
want a consensus?
Correct.
Okay, gentlemen, how do you feel about bringing this back in the next meeting?
If we can get answers to some of the questions from the school and where they stand and whatnot.
So with yes?
I prefer to go right now, but if that's the best we can do, then that's the best
Go
I
right
can
now
do.
for what?
I'll take it.
What are you going to go for now, right
Well,
now?
I prefer to give at least a consensus that we give the statement that we would like to see the pool open this summer.
I see, okay.
Okay,
You
but-
want to hear from the report before you do that? Maybe you'd want to wait and hear what they have to say before you make that comment? It
No.
might change your mind?
No.
It won't change
No.
your mind, okay.
Quick question
Go ahead.
from what Peter's saying. Do we have any alternative routes for, if we hypothetically shut it down, what are the alternatives for kids learning how to swim in our town?
Not in our town.
Like, do we have like a list of, well, obviously, like, do you have a list of swimming instructors that do private lessons at their house? stuff
I don't
like
know of
that?
any of that. And there used to be Mr. Barton, who's passed away since, he used to have a private little thing where he did. I don't know if we have a network set up for that. I don't believe we do. So I think where we're at this point is whether or not we want to bring this up next meeting to go beyond and see what else we're dealing with, or as Councilman Pro Tem Swift suggests, we vote on it now to say yea or nay. I would like to wait and get some more information personally, but that's just me. So I would take, who wants to wait till next week and get some more, or next meeting and get more information and move from there? Who wants to do the vote now? So let's start with that. Who wants to vote now?
Well, there is no, it's not
Yeah.
an agenda item.
Consensus, excuse me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If this is the best I can get now, I'll take coming back to the next meeting. How's that?
Okay, that works. All right, so any objections? Okay, so it looks like the consensus is we'll come next meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's move on down here to staff communications. The treasury report for April, please.
So that these listings are all of our monthly reports for each of the departments. So yes, we have the treasurer's report, the recreation department, development services, building, public works, water and wastewater reports for the month of April. The police department report and animal control report will be on the next meeting. And then if you have any questions on any of those.
Any of the items all the way to G is what you're saying. Okay.
Right.
Are there any questions for staff on the items in staff communication? I see no hands, so we're good. We're moving on. All right. Matters presented from the audience. An opportunity for anyone in the audience who has something to say. I'll read what it says. Here it goes. The public may address the city council on any item that is on the agenda at the time the item is called. The public may also address the city council on any item not on the agenda that is within the authority of the city council. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 5 minutes. Unused time may not be yielded to another speaker. The determination on whether an item is within the authority of the city council is a discretionary decision made by the mayor. Is there anyone who'd like to come up this evening and speak? Please do so. Give us your name, please.
Al Bellinger, I'm here in regards to the American Legion Post 263. It's been 3 years since we have had our Armed Force breakfast. Now, I know some of the people has got flyers. I do have a flyer here if anybody wants to see it. Our breakfast will be this Saturday from 7 to 11. We have pancakes, eggs, juice, coffee, ham, linguiça, not bacon or any, linguiça.
Heartburn.
It depends on how much you eat.
Yeah.
And it starts from 7 to 11. It's $10 a head.
Cheap.
Anybody that's active duty, we serve them free.
Nice.
So if anybody wants a flyer, I know David had one up there. And Chief, you were supposed to have been at every dinner we've had, and you have not showed up. You promised. We do have takeouts. Fire department will take some out. I was hoping that you would send some of you guys that are on duty. They can take out if they want.
Al, I've told both of them.
There you have it.
The whole staff for that time period.
And the ambulance crew will be sending some. So we hope that the people of Escalon will help support us.
They always do, don't they?
Pardon?
They always do?
Most of the time, yeah, we end up with approximately anywhere from 130 to 160 people.
Perfect.
Nice.
We'd like more, but
Yeah. You guys do a great job. That's a great breakfast.
thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come up this evening? Please do so.
Gary Haskin, I'd like the council to reconsider the consensus on waiting till the next meeting. That's 3 weeks away. You're talking July. If you decide to go on it with picking up lifeguards and everything else, you're talking July. Excuse me, the next meeting is 3 weeks away in June.
That's a good point.
Because you can't catch up then, it's over.
That's a good point.
Also, you know, the swimming pool has always lost money, but the whole rec department has always lost money. And it's been the council's decisions in the past that it's worth it to have the youth programs that they will support even at a loss. So I respectfully ask you to reconsider consensus.
Thank you. All right, before we, when we're done with this, we'll address that. Let's take the rest of the information from the audience, and then we'll go back and revisit that.
Good evening, Council. Sean Stroman. I have a question on the pool. I know we're talking about it in 3 weeks, but just something just struck me. When was the pool built?
2,000?
I think it was 2000 or
Yeah,
2001.
yeah.
Well, we had a pool prior to that, Sean, at the high school there, and
Okay.
it was a center for summer activity for the youth of the community. And we also gave swimming lessons, and it was a place to hang out when you were a kid.
Well, here's my question. So, Mayor Alves, as you know, the way that bringing up to code works is that if you're doing any major improvements, then you have to bring it to current code. I mean, that's construction 101. But why are we talking about spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to do improvements to the pool to bring it up to code when in reality, all we're doing is deferred maintenance? We're assisting the school district on their deferred maintenance items. So therefore, are these hundreds of thousands of dollars in upgrades and bringing up to code really applicable? Because
What's your alternative?
the alternative, I think what we should do is, I understand the school district doesn't want to put any money towards it, but I don't think you address the issues that are bringing it up to code, so to speak, as opposed to just prioritizing those maintenance items that are needed, because then you don't have to worry about bringing up to code and causing hundreds of thousands of dollars of items. You're addressing the maintenance concerns.
I don't disagree with you, and I think probably we would have got to that point. I don't think we'd gone through what you suggest we might have done, which is a complete overhaul. I don't think that's going to happen. I think what you're suggesting is probably what would have happened. I think we would have addressed the issues and said, look, that doesn't make sense. This makes more sense. Let's get it to the point where it's safe and let's use it. That's kind of where I think we were going to end up.
Because, I mean, I don't know if you guys are aware of this or not, but in January, there's a whole other set of building codes that are coming out. And the last thing you want to do is start putting forth all this money, and then in January, another building code comes up. Meanwhile, you're still working in the 2019 code, and who knows? The accessibility code may completely change in January. Then you're spending money for what?
No, I think it's a valid argument.
My recommendation would be to take that list of items. Yes, this is a public meeting, but don't touch anything related to code. Only identify those items such as maintenance. I mean, you mentioned rebars sticking up. Okay, get a little concrete patch put in there and seal it, call it good. That's maintenance. That's not touching it, trying to bring it up to code. So I don't know if you guys are aware, but the pool came up on Escalon residents this past weekend, and I think it's going to come to a head here real soon. So something needs to be done. and everybody's a little bit perturbed at the school district because they don't want to do anything. So as I've been mentioned previously, I think this is a chance where you as the city council can say, okay, school district, it's on your property, but we're here to serve the citizens of Escalon. So this is what we're going to do. Just my thoughts.
All right, well, thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing no one else, we'll bring it back to the council, and we're going to readdress that issue. Go ahead.
You do have people online in case you want to take.
Okay, good idea. All right, does anyone online like to comment on what we're discussing? Please chime in. Well, they're listening, but they're not talking. Okay, so I haven't heard anybody offer up any feedback, so let's go back to the council. And the council, Mr. Haskin had offered a recommendation, and the way he brought it up, I think it may change things. So would we like to reconsider our decision?
Well, naturally, I'd like to reconsider it, and I was looking from the same standpoint. Time is of the essence.
Okay.
And in terms of reconsidering this, like I said, we only have so much time left, and I definitely do not want to have us be the reason why this pool gets killed, okay? Let's just put it very simply, very easily. If this pool can be open for the kiddos this summer, and if we can have enough lead time to be looking into the lifeguard issue, then I think that this is probably the perfect time to do it. And if at least for nothing else, I'd like to see us be on record as saying, yes, we'd like to get this pool open for these kiddos this summer. We'd like to go ahead and get the lifeguard program going this summer. And school district, you do what you want, but it almost sounds like we've got enough to go with right now.
Okay, let's go with the vote, and gentlemen, go ahead. Did you want to say something?
Yes, I mean, yeah, why don't we just leave it open, patch up the stuff like Sean's saying, to where it's not, you know, an injury liability.
I think that was going to be the bottom line once we got feedback. I don't think we're going to go out and remodel the whole thing.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying the current little things that could be an issue.
Sure.
I would.
Then address this stuff after the swimming season.
I think that's a fair statement. What we're looking for is a consensus, gentlemen, to reconsider, and the idea was that initially we were gonna wait a couple weeks, but Mr. Haskell brought up a valid point, and I think probably Pro Tem Swift probably would have brought it up if I wouldn't have cut him off on that, but the deal is, I'm willing to reconsider as well. Do we have a consensus, gentlemen, to move ahead? Yes?
I think so. I just wanted to say one thing. I think we should move forward with trying to find lifeguards, not knowing where the school stands. They can always shut us down because it's on their property, but we move forward with the idea that we will be using it. Let's move. I agree we should be moving towards lifeguards, the program, get the pool up to speed, and if it has to be shut down because the school does it, then it's on them. But I agree that we should move forward with the idea
All right.
that we'll have swim lessons.
I agree with that statement.
Okay.
If we can find lifeguards.
Okay, Councilman Crummage, any comment?
Well, just my only comment would be, I believe that we contribute 30% to the cost of the pool. Is that sound about right?
I'm sorry, say it again.
30%?
It's like 38.
Yeah, it's like
38? So the majority of the cost is on the burden of the school. It's on their property. It was designed originally to be used for school activities. It's so underutilized. I'm not going to stand in the way of trying to keep it open if we can, but from my perspective, you know, as a you know, fiscally responsible decision, we can't keep pouring money into something that is only utilized 6 weeks out of the year. So that's but I won't stand in the way of moving it forward.
All right, thank you. So the consensus sounds like we're going to go ahead and move forward.
Right, so for clarification, so the consensus is for the staff to operationally prepare for a swimming season.
Yes.
And then this will still be on the agenda for the next items to present the information back to the council so the council can make a final decision as whether to actually open for the summer or not.
Get some information from the school where they stand.
Okay, good enough. So we'll move forward on this. We will start trying to get together some lifeguards, and we will move forward and wait at the next meeting to move from there on.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure,
Mayor?
absolutely.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
We've talked about this, and I don't think we've gotten a definitive statement from the school board at all, from the school board members, you know, from the superintendent. It's just been crickets. We need actually something from them that we can go off of. We need to know what they're willing to put in to getting it up to speed. We need to know what their plan is. We've got to get an official statement that we can work on, because at this point, we're just shooting in the dark. None of us really know what they think, so.
Mayor Alves?
Go ahead.
Yeah, to Councilmember Crumich's point, that's a very good point. In terms of getting an answer, I think we will now.
Yeah.
Okay, so they got the shot over the bow, and hopefully that they'll recognize that we're gonna move forward and that they'll help us do so. I think it's a very unpopular idea not to do so. And I'm pretty sure this town would definitely come unglued if they didn't have their swimming season.
Hey, Mayor Alves?
Yes,
Can I
sir.
say one?
Go ahead, absolutely.
Also, if we can't find someone we can pay, I'd throw it out there to see if there's anyone in our community who's willing to volunteer their time to help put it on, as far as like, being a lifeguard. So if there's anyone out there that has that experience, that ability, that would be willing to donate their time, maybe there's someone out there, I'm not sure.
That's a good point too. Well, we can put that out there and see what happens. All right. So we got direction. We got to bring it back next time. We're going to move forward. All right, let's move on to,
Before you move on, I just wanted to go back to staff communications, because I did have some.
yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to let you know that we received a message from the executive director of the League of California Cities, and she has announced that the California Business Roundtable announced that they will not be putting the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act on the November 2022 ballot. This was the item that the League of California Cities was asking the
Yeah, we
Escalon
punted right
Council
on one.
to-
Yeah.
to support.
Right.
And we ended up not taking any action. We didn't not support it, but we didn't support
No,
it.
we
We
punted.
just left it alone. And so they just wanted to make that announcement that they're going to, again, try for 2024 instead. So it will not be on the ballot this year.
Okay, very good. It's not a good year for anything, really, to be honest with you. It's going to be ugly.
Then-
Okay.
You guys have updates? No?
Well, thank you. Gentlemen, anybody over here have anything they want to add before we move on? All right, seeing no one wants to add anything on, we're going to move down here. Where we go? Okay. Administrative matters. We're going to discuss city-owned land surplus APN 227-340-090, 2310 Main Street. Staff.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
An intent to purchase 2310 Main Street was received last year, which was brought to the city council for discussion at the March 1st, 2021 meeting. At that time, it was the consensus of council to keep that parcel. The requester has since submitted a revised intent to purchase, interested in this property on May 9th. A little background, 2310, which is also known as Lot A, is a part of the Stepping Stones Homes subdivision map that was filed back in 1988. It includes 6 lots and 1 storm drainage pond, which totaled 1.4 acres. Parcels 1, 2, 3, 4, and Lot A, which is the lot that the city owns,
Can you
remain.
see a picture of this? You have a map of this on there? You want to push it up here so we all see it?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, this is off of what road now?
Let me rotate this real quick.
Stepping Stone.
Vine and Maine, Santa Fe, Maine.
Okay, oh, it's that piece of land on going out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah, we own that land?
Yes, it's supposed to be a future storm basin.
Wasn't there a proposal, the guy who's back, I guess, the deal he was asking for was like free sidewalks and so forth and so on?
So a few years ago, we had a developer that owned most of those lots.
Right?
And they were looking to construct them all.
Yes.
And so because we owned the lot, we basically had offered them that lot in lieu of the cost for development, because they were gonna have to, these lots have no utility connections at all, no access to water, sewer, storm, nothing, and they're undeveloped. And so in order to develop them, they would have to extend all of the city's main lines from basically the corner of Vine and Main, and take our main public lines and bring them all the way down to the lots to connect to them. And so, yes, at one time, we were using that as like an incentive. If you build these lots, we'll, write this parcel over to you.
That is the pond you're referring to when you
The
said,
pond, yeah, originally proposed as a pond.
will there still be building fees and all that?
Well, it depends what they would do with it. We would do the land, and they could, at that point, make the choice to either make one of the lots bigger by adjusting the lot lines, or develop it as their lot, and because it's a substandard size, it could possibly be more affordable because
Do
it's
they need a
smaller.
pond for just 3 or 4 houses?
At this time, we don't believe that pond is needed at all.
Yeah, I don't
So
see
no.
why it would be.
No, if they're connecting to the city's services, then they wouldn't need the pond. But
So-
back in 1988,
I get it.
there was a.
So if we were able to deed that over to them, that would give them some incentive. It's another piece of land, which would they'd have to do a lot line adjustment or something?
I mean, and it would be at their
Discretion.
discretion unless we had certain terms that we wanted them to meet.
Well, that lot is too small to build on.
It's 4,800 square feet. We do have a section in the municipal code that allows substandard lots to build. They do have to go through a more discretionary process because the lot is small. They have to go, they have to do a site and architecture application.
Okay.
So it's a little more of a process behind it because it's substandard.
Now, are we going to request any sort of mitigation because of the trains coming through there for these buildings? If in fact he builds or someone builds? None. So we don't have to worry about any of that. We can't be sued later on for any of that. We're okay. We can issue
I mean,
building
this
permits?
would be, it's my understanding, and we do have the person of interest on the line.
Okay.
If you wanted to talk to them and ask any questions, it's my understanding that they would just be buying this one, they don't own the other lots that I'm aware of. They would just be buying this one lot.
One
some
lot
type of
adjacent to the pond?
Just the lot A, the highlighted lot.
Oh, they just want to buy that
They
one?
just want to buy our lot that we own.
Interesting.
They're interested, yeah. And so, it's a 4,800 square foot lot, and yeah, our city engineers determined that we don't need it for our future storm drainage needs. So because the parcel has no planned use for the city, it is considered a surplus property. And so if the council did decide or choose that they wanted to sell the lot or surplus the lot, the process to be able to sell it may include additional steps to surplus it in accordance with the Surplus Land Act. And we can bring those items forward to you at the next meeting as well. I did look into the pricing. The lots around it, lots 2, 3, and 5, have all recently sold in the last 6 months. The lowest being 30,000 and that being a 7,900 square foot lot, and the highest being 47, which was a 9,300 square foot lot. And so I'm guesstimating that it would be worth maybe 25 to 30,000 if it was to be sold. We would have them, we would have appraisal.
Councilman Hagan,
Do
you're recognized.
Have they told you what they wanted it for? Is it for just a single-family home, or?
He's on the line. We haven't really discussed it. I don't know if it's changed since last year.
Gotcha.
This came in and I just wanted to move it forward.
Well, Councilman Hagan would like to know what his intent is. Let's ask him that.
Sure. Okay.
Hey, good evening, City Council. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, my name's Cameron DeRusi, and so the lot we're talking about, if we're all referring to this plot map we have, would be Lot A, which was determined by the city engineers. It was gonna be the pond, but they no longer needed it. Lots 2 and 3 recently sold to Mr. Bautista out of Stockton, and then the lot adjacent to those, which is Lot 4, sold to a different individual, Mr. Enriquez out of Stockton. And then, so those were the 3 lots next to it. Mayor Alves made a good point, to wait to see what BBSC Investments was going to do, which they previously owned lots 2, 3, and 4. And they just determined that the development cost was going to be too much. So they turned around and sold those lots. So now we have lots 2 and 3 with Mr. Bautista and 4 with Enriquez. So that kind of narrows, the possibilities for development there. So I think it's, maybe a time to look at selling Lot A for the city. And then, yeah, I was looking to do a single family home.
There you go. All right, so what do you need from us?
I just need to know whether the
Is it
council-
consensus or vote or what?
If you're looking towards moving forward to sell the property, I'd like a vote.
Okay. Gentlemen, do I have a motion on this item?
I'll motion it.
Go ahead.
We need, Excuse me, council members, we need public comment, at least open it to
Always
public
forget
comment
that.
for.
All right, anybody in the audience would like to come up and discuss this item with us? Not seeing anyone running up here. We're going to go on to the internet and the phones. Is there anyone online that would like to discuss this? Okay, not seeing anyone or hearing from anyone. We'll bring it back to the council for a vote.
And I'm sorry, one more time, sorry, council, to interrupt. I think the proper thing at this point is either just a vote to move it forward or consensus to move it forward, because it needs to come back. So that-
Ratify it?
Well, it needs to, underneath the Surplus Land Act, this parcel is small enough to be exempt from the Surplus Land Act, but it does first need to be declared surplus land. And that's a resolution that needs to be drafted and brought before the council. So I'm just saying there's another step here that needs to take before you can just vote
How do
to
we
sell,
remedy that step? Do we take a vote or a consensus?
whichever you want.
All right, let's go with a vote. Go ahead, Councilman Hagan.
I would motion to sell the property.
To surplus it.
Surplus,
Surplus.
sorry, surplus
okay.
the property.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Mayor Alves, I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
For the, Mr. DeRusi, I believe, correct? Is he still on the phone?
He is, it always takes a little
Okay, no problem.
behind.
Do you know anything about the Lot 1?
Lot one, so I'm a licensed real estate agent, so, obviously I pulled all this information I told you guys off the tax records. Who owned what, kind of researched a little bit, is Mr. Enriquez or Mr. Bautista or any of them developers? I kind of wanted to have that information ready because if someone was wanting to do some multifamily there, obviously it would be in the city's best interest to sell Lot A to them. These are people who, just have these lots individually. Just an individual person, and then Lot 1 is owned by a local Escalon person,
Okay.
I believe that lives on First Street.
Okay. And so that's the best that you know really about what Mr. Enriquez and Mr. Batista, they're the current
Yes.
owners, correct?
Right. So if we're looking at the plot map, so we have on the corner, which is Lot 1. That's a local Escalon person. I believe they bought the lot back in 02 or 03. Next to that's Lot A, which is the one I'm inquiring on. Next, adjacent to that is 2 and 3. Both of those lots were bought by Mr. Bautista out of Stockton. And then directly next to 2 and 3, Bautista's lots, is 4. And then 4 is owned by Enriquez out of Stockton. And that's the only property he owns.
And since it's not going to be penciling out for them, do you have any idea as what their intention is at this point?
If I had to, guess, it would probably look that, 2 and 3 would be maybe one single family residence, on a larger lot. And then as is 4 would be as well.
Yeah. Because obviously, as you know, one of the biggest goals, I think, probably for that little area right there is just simply just, as long as it looks a little cleaner than it does. So anything's going to be an improvement, and I'm sure you'll probably agree with that.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's where you enter the city from, coming from Escalon.
Right.
So
Yep.
having something there will doll it up.
Okay, very good. That's all I have.
All right, Councilman Bellinger.
Just a quick question, Dominic, where is it that our municipal water, sewer, and all those lines stop, where they would have to connect and get to there, and what is our obligation as a city? We don't pay any, if we were to sell this property, the developer would be the one that would be paying for all those connections, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and where is
developer
that?
would pay the full impact for developing the lot, so that's curb, gutter, sidewalk, water, sewer, storm connection, and because there are no utilities in the street here, they would need to run our main lines down to get that access. So we have sewer and water end right here at Vine and Main. And then we also have services over here on Riley, which is farther back. So the closer option for Lot A would be Vine and Main. And what they would end up doing essentially is extending these lines down Main Street.
Would there be an easement on the property there, or they?
In that process, if we need any easements or right-of-way
You're gonna need
dedicated,
an
any of that
easement.
stuff.
You don't want to be
it'll-
on the road with that thing.
Yeah, it'll be included in their
Right.
civil improvements and
Exactly.
and changes, yeah.
Mayor, one last
Go ahead,
question,
yep,
Mr.
go ahead.
DeRusi. Mr. Ducey, so therefore, are you planning on developing this property, knowing the constraints with the sewer at the moment and how it would need to be taken care of?
Right. So a little over a year ago, when I first inquired on Lot A, I looked into all that. I forget what it is. You have a term for it where PG&E comes out and they mark, okay, well, here's where this line is. And then I had a guy come out and get kind of a rough quote on bringing the sewer over from Vine Avenue. Just to kind of had a general idea with a couple options there. So yeah, I'm fully aware of all the costs of the property.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, now, we're back to where we had the motion and we had a second. Are we going to vote on this to have it surplus, gentlemen? All those in favor? For surplus?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, very good. Our next item, report on the agenda, let's see where we at. Item requested, submitted by Kurt Danziger regarding resolution number 0922, approving an appointment process to fill vacancies on the city council when in accordance with government code 36512. Staff.
Thank you, Mayor. As you recall, back in, it wasn't too long ago, let's see, end of March 21st, the council moved forward with adopting a resolution which essentially approved an appointment process to fill vacancies on the city council where the California Government Code Section 36512 authorizes such appointments. And so that was where we established a policy and went through it and addressed purpose and intent, vacancy appointments, and appointment process. At this time, we did receive an agenda item request that council gave a consensus for at the last meeting to essentially requesting that a process be established for all appointments for commissions that we have, which would include Planning Commission, Rec Commission, and then if Mr. Danziger has any other groups. I know once a year or every 2 years, we go through all of the citywide or countywide bodies, so that would probably be separate, but I'm thinking Planning Commission, Rec at this point in time. And so if you'd like to discuss the issue, and then Mr. Danziger is in the audience, if you'd like to have him explain a little more what he's looking for or what he.
Let me ask council what they'd like to do. Gentlemen, how do you feel about this item and what would you like to do? Go ahead, Councilman Pro Tem Swift.
Well, ironically, I think a lot of the reason why we did the appointment process as we did was in the name of transparency. And I appreciate what Mr. Denzinger's thoughts are on this one, and maybe invitations is a serious form of flattery. So if it's good for us, then maybe it'd be good for everybody else. It would make a nice, clean process, transparent process all the way through, so that next time people ask, well, what is the process? Here's a process for all three entities: Council, Recreation Commission, and Planning Commission.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it. Anyone else like to comment?
Ditto what Robert just said. That's
Okay,
pretty
how
much my
about down here?
feelings.
We're good? So now that we're all good with this, we can move forward on it after we go through the public and all that, but then back to a vote later?
Right, the only thing before the council is whether to put this on the agenda for next time to actually discuss it.
Okay, we're gonna open it up to the public here.
Wait, hold on a second.
ahead.
Sorry.
That's all right.
This was put on the last agenda for this meeting. We don't need to go to another agenda. We can vote on it.
No, you can do it now.
Yes.
Okay.
So what I did is provided the actual agenda item request Mr. Danziger submitted, which he had written out his recommended motion and a description of what he was looking for. And then I attached what we approved at that meeting of March 21st, which was the resolution with the attached policy, which is marked as Exhibit A. And so it would be basically looking through that process and making any changes to it.
Okay. Well, let's go out to the public here and see what they got to say. Anyone in the audience would like to come up and speak on this item, please do so.
Danziger, and good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Feel obligated to come up and answer any questions that you have. Going back to the appointment process 6 months ago, I just enjoyed the fact that so many people were interested in doing something for the city and putting their names forward and wanted to put their name in the ring for one position. That's more people than I've seen in 18 years that I've been here apply for city council. So I thought, wouldn't it be great to get more people into the process for all of these other appointed positions? And this gives you a clear, concise way to do it, which mimics what you've done before. It doesn't carry the same weight of government code. There's no elections to worry about as far as cost that goes. It's just a more transparent, open process for citizens that, consider and serve in the community. And so that was the point.
Good enough. Thanks, Kurt. Is there anyone else? Any questions for Mr. Danziger before he sits down? Okay, he's here. Go ahead. Nobody? All right, go ahead.
Good evening, Council. Sean Stroman again. I've never seen Kurt so shy as long as I've known him. But quite frankly, I'm here to support my friend Kurt. About a year ago, Mr. Danziger was not afforded this opportunity on the Planning Commission. He was up for reappointment, and Councilman Bellinger and Mayor Alves sat on the commission. Kurt did what we all do and submitted his application and wasn't even afforded the opportunity to interview for reappointment. Instead, Councilman Bellinger and Mayor Alves appointed someone else. And so I'm not in favor of that. Quite frankly, I think it's wrong. But I think this process being applied to all city positions will lend to transparency, openness, honesty, get rid of the good old boys network, and bring transparency to all government positions. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Well, the process he's referring to, or as he's brought to everyone's attention, is that we used to be able to appoint when there was a vacancy. The council would appoint somebody, and now what we've decided to do now is to open up to the public and have input. Normally, we didn't. We just selected somebody we might know that would want to do it. We had a good turnout the last time, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing to be transparent like that, I think. But I think there's some missing information on your side, Sean, in your comments, just for your own information. So after the meeting tonight, I'd like to educate you, all right? Because I think you've misspoke on that. All right. So, having said that, do we need a vote now? Okay, we'll accept the motion.
Yeah, I move that we place the Planning Commission and the Recreation Commission under the same appointment process that currently exists for city council appointments.
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. 5-0. Congratulations. All right.
So just to advise, there are some things that I might need to update in the actual policy, and then because we're going to update it, I'm gonna need to bring it back on a resolution. So what
That's
I will
fine.
do is
So
bring
if there's
back-
any changes, we'll have an opportunity to decide whether we
Correct,
like
yeah,
it.
I'll redline it and put a new resolution together that will remove this previous resolution or take
I
precedence
appreciate
over
that.
it. It'll be on the next meeting.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us down to, let's see where we at here. Council communication, let's start with Councilman Crummage.
Thank you, Mayor Alves.
You're welcome.
So as most of you are aware, over this last weekend, there was a mass shooting in Buffalo, New York. This is something that's struck me pretty hard. It appears to be a racially motivated mass shooting where 10 individuals were killed, and I believe 13 were injured. And I'm not going to get into it too much, but just out of respect for the victims and their families, I would like to have a moment of silence.
You can have it. All right. How long do you want it to be?
30 seconds.
Very good.
All right, thank you for that. I think we had some good discussion tonight. The pool issue, it's a tough one, it's a tricky one. I don't have a good answer. I'm not sure if anybody does at this point. I know we're trying to figure it out. I think it's a great thing that we approved the process for the appointment process to extend to the Planning Commission and to the Rec Commission. And I appreciate Kurt bringing it up and making it a point, and Sean supporting it. So other than that, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Bellinger.
Just keep it real short. Again, good conversation tonight. Please, everybody, support the American Legion. Come out on Saturday for breakfast, please. I haven't missed one in a long time, and you won't be disappointed if you show up. You will not go hungry if you go. They'll take good care of you. So we'll just leave it at that tonight.
Very good, thank you. Councilman Hagan.
I was curious how we're doing on the RFP thing for the seniors. Have we had any feedback yet?
When it first went out, I was receiving feedback and questions from a number of agencies. It's been about 2 weeks since I've heard back from any of them. Our deadline, original deadline was May 20th, and so I have not received anything yet, but it's not unusual for them to wait until the last day to submit.
Okay, that's all I had
So
for
I'll
tonight.
have a report back on what we receive at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Pro Tem Swift.
Yeah, two questions, and of course, one is regarding the Legion breakfast. Is that ham or linguiça?
Yes.
Or, so,
That means you get both, dude.
all of them?
Yeah.
I'll
Just ask me who serves the meat.
I'll see you at 7.
You'll be there, buddy.
I'll see you at 7. The other issue is, I just don't know where we're at on some of the weed abatement issues. I know that, Big Boy's taken care of. And of course, I mentioned that the properties that we were talking about today on the corner of Vine and Santa Fe or Main Street, that's been another bugaboo. And of course, the old auction yard, I don't know if anybody's taking care of those weeds, but I guess they're coming up there pretty nicely, and they're nice and dry. And so that definitely's got to be addressed, over there. And also another location, and that's at I forget the name of the property, but it's the old Escalon quilting. They were there for a few months.
We're Escalon Chiropractic.
Thank you. I was drawing a blank on that. It's just, it's one of those little things that, you get the weeds coming up through the cracks and things like that. And I understand everybody's busy, and including, owners of properties like that. But little things like that can make a big difference in the appearance of town. If we stay on top of them, and if they stay on top of the weeds, it'll make things look a lot better. So if there's any way we can reach out to them and get those taken care of ASAP.
Sure.
Because it's going to be hot. So, thank you. And that's all I have.
Okay, very good. A couple things. Park Feet this year I've mentioned is on August 5th and 6th, and that's the weekend of it with the parade and all the activity. But during the week, there's Miss Escalon, Junior Miss Escalon, Senior Miss Escalon. Currently, we're searching for somebody to do the Miss Escalon and the Junior Miss Escalon because the previous individuals, one's out of state and the other one's got 2 children now and finds it almost impossible. So if anyone knows anybody who would like to do the pageants this year, please let us know as soon as possible because we are desperate to find someone to help us. The other thing is weed abatement. I'm trying to think of the one that had the trees for the lawn out there. What was that one? That street over there on, it was 4 feet tall. What was that street? It's past the auction yard street. What's the next one out? Going west? Walnut. Well, anyway, it looks like somebody went and harvested the trees. I mean, they're gone, which is great because it was embarrassing. And then some other lots that look like they're starting to clean up. There is a lot of weed abatement needed. This town is loaded for a fire. I want to thank staff on getting on a lot of the things I've been calling in. I've called in a lot of stuff and they've taken care of it promptly. Thank you. That's appreciated to see it. The grammar school I contacted and had them replace those chains that were broken for 2 or 3 years out in front. They finally fixed those. There's a book out called Broken Windows, I think it's called, and I think Chief would know more about that, but it's about communities that let things fall down. When you start to see your community get more papers, weeds, broken signs, stuck fences, it starts to deteriorate from the inside out. So anything you guys can see or do to stop this stuff and bring it up to the staff or even the property owners, it'd be appreciated because once that happens, it's like internal. It just destroys everything we have here, which is a great little community. What else? Oh, if there's anyone interested in helping with the park feet in general, the Lions Club would definitely appreciate any help we can get from anybody. So if you feel like you don't like to put some time in with the community here, let me know. I would love to sign you up to get some help because we could sure use it. Okay, we're going to retire to a closed session. I want to thank everyone for coming this evening. Have a good evening. All right, let's go back and do